Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Zoo, 1 minute earlier than normal. Could be later in some other place on the planet, but here we are. Thursday, 2nd of July, 2026, episode 86. 86 episodes, people. Very excited, very excited. Amazing. Now, we're going to finish up today at 5 o'clock exactly. 5 o'clock because, well, it might be 5:01. 5:01. And the reason being, we've had a few updates on the website, zucoins.com. And one of those includes the little buzzer, the little thing at the top that says we're live. We're just testing that right now. Let me just see if it's going. What's happened? Can't believe it. It's going to flick over shortly. It still says, no, it says live. Fantastic. We're back. We are looking good. The website does look different. That was going to be the lead in today, people, but let's touch base. I did make another inquiry. I'm becoming a bit of a pest, Dr. Zoo, with AUSTRAC, but they are extremely helpful. Lay low we are. They have got no queries at this stage. That's what we want. We're traveling very nicely indeed. So we just sit back and wait, but we're not waiting. The team behind the scenes has been doing some fantastic work. Actually, it's been quite impressive on a few fronts indeed. So the first front, let's have a little chat before we tackle. Welcome, Queensland. Welcome. And let's just get into those questions shortly. But before we do, Dr. Zoo was thoroughly amused, absolutely crackerjack amused. Always keeps an eye on the world events. There we go. Trumpy's made over $1 billion. How good's that? Now, that should give you inspiration. You shouldn't be there worried about just because he's president taking advantage of things. We should be aspiring to become presidents and president of the US of A. Because if you can become a president in that position and make $1 billion, wow, that's a big incentive in capitalism I've ever seen. Unlike Albo, he becomes our little minuscule prime minister, and he's running around with the CFMEU, and so's Jacinta. For those that are around the world, we have a lot of fun things happening here in Australia. We have a lot of firsts, and I just sort of played because I couldn't believe it the other day. Dr. Zoo loves to see what's happening around the world and how people react. Now, there's three sort of reactions there. One is obviously Trumpy, $1 billion, and most of that came out of crypto. And that's got to give you some heart, because if he's making $1 billion, he doesn't want to lose it. He won't want to lose it, nor will the family, which means that's a huge opportunity for us to slide in on the back end of that with our Zucoins, SplitChain, Zutopia, Zukaz, Zoo tokens. We'll talk about them as well today. Give them a bit of an update on that one. Got some new people coming in. Welcome on board. But that's what we want to see. We want to see our illustrious international leader, one of the biggest powers on earth, if not the greatest power on earth at the moment, and making money on crypto. Unbelievable. Which means that we can sit there and make money as well, because they're not going to get rid of it in a hurry. Fantastic for us people. On the other hand, you got another, a big trillionaire there. We've talked about him before, the great man. Dr. Zoo's getting more excited every day when he wants to get out of this place and travel to Mars. There's some really good incentives now, which is happening out and about. Unbelievable. So SpaceX. Now, I love watching this stuff. SpaceX. It's up and down like you wouldn't believe. Now, look, I just get so amazed. Now, here we have, in one night, in SpaceX, $163 billion US loss in one night. And no one blinks an eyelid. I mean, that's half of the GDP of many countries. 163 billion in one night, down the proverbial gurgler. And what's Elon doing? Mate, he's putting up a brave face. What's he doing? He's on the red carpet, and he's got one of his androids taking his bags. If you haven't seen that visual, absolute something right out of some sci-fi movie, people. There he is. He's busy running around with electric cars and creating rockets and trying to get us all up there to Mars and getting these satellite dishes out and about. What's he doing? He's organised his android to take his bags as he's heading up the red carpet. Unbelievable. Now, that's the sort of motivational feel that we like to see. Motivational feel. So, that's the other one. And then you come back to our third inspirational leader, the great man, Albo. And what does he do? He shares with us the wisdoms. In fact, it was great the other day for those that are listening around the world in Thailand and Mauritius and Fiji and Los Angeles. Oh, London. We love you, Londoners. Love London. Paris, gay Paris. How good's that? It's probably lost a bit of that nowadays, but there you go. And, of course, in South America, we've got some big hitters coming out of there. Very excited. We've been watching the European Union rip apart many, or in fact, 2,800, 2,800 roughly exchanges vaporized the other night, 24 hours ago. Gonski. Binance running around just suggesting to people that it'll make a comeback. It probably will, because Binance is making a bucket load of money, $45 million a day, and you can do a lot with that. You can do a lot with that. Dr. Zoo's looking forward to that day as well, can assure you, in relation to Zutopia and, of course, the Gulfstream. Now, just on that, Gulfstream had a long-term great supporter of Zucoins send a latest video update on the G800, and baby, wowee, it is incredible, absolutely incredible. From here to wherever you want to go in bullet time, breaking speed records, magnificent. So the quicker we get to this $1,000 US that I want, the better. And we will be pressing big buttons very quickly, people. We had a few people talk about AUSTRAC, which is great to see. People doing a bit of research, using to their advantage AI, and saying things like that AUSTRAC would allow trading that newly businesses involved can keep going till the 29th of July. That's not quite right. Bear in mind, Zutopia is not a new business because we had a very strong trading platform, as you know, with the soft launch prior to December of 2025, which puts us in a different category, and that's why we went for the gun approach to get as much information as humanly possible with the application for registration as a virtual asset service provider. We don't need that in any other parts of the world, people. It's going to be very much specific for here. Give us a huge boost. Cost Dr. Zoo a few bob extra, but that's okay. Nobody cares about what Dr. Zoo has to put up with. That's fine, because Dr. Zoo is going to get the Gulfstream, and he will be making mention of that when we hit those prices targets that we want. Long term, go back to the original updates. It's not financial advice. We've always talked about the risks in this industry. Many billions of dollars have been lost. Not like Trumpy, $1 billion in front. He's been playing the game properly, picking the right crypto. Very interesting. But others, including Binance, have lost people's billions of dollars has vaporized over the last many years. In fact, 13.4 odd million coins have no longer with us. They've sadly gone to the graveyard of coins, and now we have a graveyard of exchanges in Europe, and we are coming out like little squirrels at night, collecting our little nuts and building our reserves and ready to rock and roll because of the way we have structured the business and the way in which, and you don't want to get in some. Dr. Zoo's been talking about this stuff. Basically, you could blow it up your ass and it'll be all gone, or you can have a fair crack, create utility and productivity. That's exactly what we are on about. Utility, productivity, fractionalization. That's going to be the jewel in the crown, because we can help people that are in these jurisdictions that need help with the crypto that they have, Bitcoin and Ethereum and so on. Getting a warm, fuzzy feeling about Satoshi, starting to feel good about it. He went off the rails there for a while with some of the, the structural concept. But then again, people, you and I, we wouldn't be here talking about the excitement of what we've done because we wouldn't have had that first mouse getting caught in the trap. Satoshi getting caught with all sorts of problems with Bitcoin. Michael Saylor running around trying to raise billions of dollars to cover his butt on payments and things and all sorts of pressure. But look, we always get these dead cat bounces. You'll probably see another bounce there, I would have thought, with some Bitcoin, and you'll see, Elon went down 163 billion last night, but he'll probably pick it up and he'll be up 250 billion the next night. So that's the way the market plays out. Everybody is truly focused on AI. We use it, but we don't need it. We have got our systems and products in place, and we can make and take advantage of that, everybody, which is huge. Now, the third, person we want to talk about just quickly was elbow, because it was extraordinary visual. It surprised, it took Dr. Zoo by shock. It just, but then I realised that what I heard and what was real, it wasn't fake news, it wasn't AI created or generated. It actually came from the very lips of the great man in Parliament, because he gets parliamentary privilege. He can say what he likes in there. And these great immortal words will be enshrined in history forever, because it's sort of like an apology, sort of Albo's way of sharing with Australians here and probably the impact in the rest of the world, with things like, the problems he's caused. And some of those problems that has caused relate to, the collapse in the housing market, the shares and CGT and all that sort of stuff. So, look, he had this little thing. I don't know whether it's going to work when I put it in, because we're testing a new little area here. For the sake of it, we thought we'd use elbows as the one. So let's just see if you can hear this. If you can, give a thumbs up. This is the great man in Parliament. For those around the world, this is the sort of leader we have. And I'm pretty sure, don't take offence to it. Just treat it as an apology to all Australians, because it's the way Dr. Zoo's taken it. And, after I heard this, I had a nice hot bath and thought about it and said, no, this is unbelievable. He's trying to, mend the fences, so to speak, and bring the working class and those that want to make money and have ambitions. And, this is what's going on. So let's just see what happens here.
We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate. We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate.
Now, I'm hoping you heard that, because if you heard that, yeah, I mean, it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? The great leader. That's in Parliament. Oh, look, it cracks me up. I mean, I don't know. He's trying his best, the big fella. And, Dr. Zoo went down that road too. He had a lot of negative people over the years, and there was a bit of that tearing going on as well. Someone wanted to rip another hole, but there you go. We're all back on Blue Star. Everybody's cuddling each other and friendly, and away we go. So let's get on to real stuff here. Let's cover a couple of these issues here, and then I can feed you into where I want to be today about some of the great things behind the scenes as we are waiting on AUSTRAC. Couple of questions. Here we go. Great update today. Email from Rob, wondering if there are any plans for a community forum. Well, let me tell you this. You would have received an email from myzucoins.org today, and the team has been busy. Thanks to Rob and Matthew, Vovo, and a couple of our clients and people over there in Europe that have been putting together things. We wanted to and we do have some people that I won't mention by name that put up some suggestions as well from WA, a couple of people out of Boston and so on. And just in preparation for multi-languages and all that sort of stuff, which is quite easily to do now with AI, we thought we'd just do another revamp of dumbing down some of the complexities on the website as we start to enter into a world of mass excitement. And to do that, you need to give people very, very handy information quickly that is in a form that you can go, bang, that's what I want. A bit like Albo just then, talking about tearing. It was very upfront, centre, forthright, right in your face. Well, hang on, it's probably not right. It was right in somewhere else. But whichever way you take it, the new designs are basically very, very simple. And we would be blown away if you can't understand the information and the content. So it's got major website upgrades there as we continue to expand our networks and processes that we want to achieve and down the road. And you can see some on the website, you can see some of that linkage is starting to fall into play. There's a little nice, I like the nice little design the boys have done with Zoo apps. Ooh, just stay with Dr. Zoo apps. Wait till you see those little suckers. And yes, that's going to be very exciting. We haven't put up the Zoo token one yet. We're probably thinking That one might be a Zoo with a red color, Zoo tokens. That's sort of flagging the urgency of those things to get out and about, which is all about the fractionalization of a Zucoin. So you've got the Zucoin and a Zoo token, which is a fraction. Now, someone said here, there's some mistakes on the website. We always welcome what our Prime Minister wants us to achieve, and that's that tearing aspect you just heard. For those that just come on board now, let me just replay that again, because we're going to use this pretty well as part of our operations. That if you're not part of what we do, then we will expand upon the recommendations of Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister, who is doing a great job in sharing the wisdoms of the world. And now we've got Alan's cutting in and out. I can't help you with that. It's not cutting out for one person. That's fine, because I don't control the websites and the world, unfortunately, people. Sorry about that. Yes, I can't help there. It's all going beautifully from here. And at the end of the day, if I stop talking to myself and listening to myself, well, then I know I've got a problem. Let's see. Yeah, look, I can't help you there. Just bear with it. We'll do an audit check after the show and see what our broadcasting partners are doing. But who knows? It could be exactly what Albo's going to say right now. Just hang on, and we'll circle back to this philosophy that we now have.
We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate. We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate.
Oh, I can't get over that. I really can't. I mean, it just brings a tear to my eye. Listening to this bloke that's only ever been in the public service, never had a job in his life. He's got a couple of houses. He got out before the CGT changes come into effect, and he's done the tearing to everybody else. But there you go. Look, I might even play that again a bit later on, because I just think it's one of the most extraordinary things to be said by a professional person in the head of state running. I don't even think, even when, you think back, you go back to the great leaders like Julius Caesar, and even when Brutus was putting the knife in his back, I don't even think they would have had a concept of what Albo's expressed there while that knife is going in, because it's just unbelievable. Well, let's get on to some of these answers. Now, if you do have some pickups that you found, you got to remember that until AI takes over completely, we are human. That is the whole team. And if you can identify any mistakes or errors that relate to a particular part of our products, very happy indeedy to receive that information. We've said that from day one. So if there is something on the website that's caught your attention and you don't, not that you don't like it, we're not interested in that stuff. We're just interested in little errors like, the S might have dropped off something, or the video doesn't work, or things like that. Send a note, and even if you can do a screenshot, to Zucoin's support@zucoins.com. Support@zucoins.com. Now, we're going to be releasing shortly. So, look, the website is designed now to bring a slimmer, friendlier, and more helpful community website on zucoins.com, which then embraces the other informational hubs, which we link into myzucoins.org, because that is where you get the extraction of brain power from Rob, our CTO, architect of the entire structural systems that you see in the protocols that we are taking advantage of and the benefit of long term in price, hopefully. That is an absolute crackerjack site to get into. It's also got statistics and all the things. There's been a lot of people trading outside of Zutopia, actually, which has been incredible. I've been having some unbelievable emails of little networks that have been building up, which is what we've been talking about. It's been trading for 4 years. I mean, it's magnificent. You've got peer-to-peer, Zucoin wallet to Zucoin wallet trading, and people are starting to barter. It's incredible. It's taken a while, but they're switching. One bloke bought some solar stuff the other day, and they've determined their own price. They didn't need a marketplace. They just said, okay, this is what we think it'll be worth long term, and we'll swap some of these Zucoins for these panels. Yeah, clever. That's what we talk about. Now, also, we've got a new support portal, highly intelligent. It's not going to be a situation where you think you can pull the wool over the eyes of an AI Zoo support team, right? Won't happen. So if you've got, we talked about it, as long as you've backed up your wallet, you always know you can restore your coins when you back up. We've said this a million times. Back up, back up, back up. Get the wallet. There's plenty of places to get the wallet. You can go to the website. You can share it in your current wallets and get a new wallet anytime you like, 24/7. And you can restore from a backup, which happens to have the words "my secret." So if you search for that, you'll find your backup. Will not be an issue. And your coins will miraculously pop up because they're verified against the SplitChain. That's the magnificent part of all this. Eventually, your wallet will contain Zoo tokens of all sorts of extraordinary values and concepts and things that you will thoroughly enjoy because no one else is doing it. But when you have queries and questions, you're going to start to really deal with Z8 Digital. Now, that's in the email. There's a links there. I'll say it again, Z8 Digital. Our great man, Peter Allen, is the brains behind that operation. And I'd be absolutely gobsmacked. I'd be a bit like poor old Albo suggesting about the tearing. If there's a bit of that going on, it's because you don't listen and learn and you don't want to read and you don't want to follow through with anything that's stuff we talk about. But the Z8 Digital will give you the answers. Very confident, very confident. That's going to be beautiful. And that'll also spill into things like the Zutopia stuff, which we've dumbed down. And that's the last one about the broader rework that the other team, Riley and his little gang of Robin Hood, bandits, they are out there and they haven't stopped. They don't sit back and say, Al, we'll turn off the plug and just wait for AUSTRAC. And they've even said it to Dr. Zoo. They say to Dr. Zoo, we're not waiting. We have been smashing out new AI for identification of points where there is all sorts of stuff happening in terms of the processes of the transactional flows that we can pinpoint with great accuracy anything that's happening 24 hours a day, because we are going to build with a great expectation. As we said earlier, we want millions and millions of wallets and traders with all sorts of the utility products we talk about, the Zoo tokens. So we want massive amounts of Zoo tokens created and traded, and merchants, customers, consumers. AR is the final one, Zucaz. That's getting a major revamp. So Riley and his team have been busy on the testing side and implementation of new AI testing mechanisms to get ahead of the game. And in addition, you're going to see another revised upgrade of the Zutopia.com website. And I'm super impressed, super impressed. You've got the contrast between the Zucoin conservative, very simplified, slimmer, friendly, user-friendly interface, and then you've got this really bit of an upbeat type website that's, it'll bring in Gen Z for sure. Gen Z will look at this and go, holy crap, we better get onto this. We won't be going to sleep at night. We'll be trading 24/7. We're going to need some more therapists, and it's going to be full on with the Zutopia. And then we throw that in the mix with Zucaz.com. You can see it all coming together. So just revisit the website, Zucoins.com. A lot of this stuff's there, but the new sites are going to be pretty powerful when you see it. So we're not hanging around. We're not hanging around by any stretch, people. It's huge with what's going on there. Now, let's tackle some questions here. We've got a few coming through. Dr. Zoo is focused today. He's focused. The question about the notes on the mistakes, if there are on the website, that's been answered. People, send it to support@zucoins.com. If you do see any that crop up when we announce the revised new Zutopia.com website, then do the same there, but send it to support@zutopia.com, because we've got different teams that are beavering away at those different products, although they are interrelated, as you can see, in terms of the, obviously, what we want to do. Now, someone here has asked about wanting a bit of a handle on explaining about tokenization. I'm not going to go into it too much today. This is the tokenization of Bitcoin, but you sort of got to imagine a scenario where let's say, for example, you went to Harry and Guru's next door because you've picked up a Zoo token of $20, and that's verifiable as ownership as a proof on the SplitChain, and you are now the proud owner of this $20 Zoo token, and you decide that I'm going to use that. You're going to go in and see Harry. Great lunch today, boys, by the way. I know they're listening, so it's, fantastic. If doing an amazing operation. You've got 4 businesses in Albury Wodonga, which is mind-blowing. Even though, they've accepted the apologies from Albo, as we said earlier, and they have been ripped and torn a fair bit as a result of their operations, which it comes down to staff costs and superannuation and losing their incentive to make big bucks as entrepreneurs. But if you use that $20, excuse me, and you go in and see Harry and Guru, you'll find that you might even settle just for, a couple of coffees and a chili Caesar wrap. Now, think about the wraps and the lunch that they talk about is important because inside the wrap, you got all the good bits. You might have chicken, sweet chili, lettuce, sauce, obviously. Away you go. Oh, Dr. Zoo's got something stuck in his throat. There you go. Holy crap. Elbow. What's he doing to him? He's been laughing too much. So think about the wrap and what's inside. Now, if you can imagine that concept, that's exactly what happens with tokenisation. You effectively are putting a wrap around other assets, the good bits. And in this case, it could be a Bitcoin. So someone's holding a Bitcoin and you put a digital wrap, electronic wrap, basically a contract that gives the benefits to that particular Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin is really the value add in terms of the tokenisation. So a small fraction of a Zucoin creates a legal wrap around a Bitcoin that could be held within custodialship with an institution like BlackRock, for example, or another broker or somebody else that you like and have confidence in. And it's there forever unless it gets redeemed or taken out. The thing is, though, it allows the fraction of the Zoo token to be traded around the world on Zutopia that you can look up and say, gee, that particular fraction has ownership of a one Bitcoin worth today's pricing about 60,000 US dollars. So it becomes very valuable, indeed. But you don't need to actually change the ownership in the blockchain for Bitcoin at huge costs and moving it around. You could have this particular Zoo token, this tokenisation, floating on Zutopia, where it might change hands 10 million times because there's no fees and charges into the SplitChain network. None at all. And because it's fractionalized, it's the only firepower token that can achieve that outcome the way it's been structured at the beginning with 32 decimals and the fractionalization. Now, that is basically the concept of tokenizing another asset. In this case, the question from the participant here, called Timid Spirit, is that you're wrapping that around just like Guru and Harry's yummy, beautiful wrapped, chicken, sweet and sour chicken wraps. It's conceptually the same thing. And this can be built on and on and on. The only difference is you actually can confirm proof of ownership in the SplitChain. And that's the jewel in the crown for us people. That's where you could end up with trillions of transactions going hell for leather, 24 hours, 7 days a week, non-stop, which is amazing. And you won't see that with the other ones. And by the way, because it's going through the instant listing, so you could list that yourselves, you could put that up for sale, trade it out, or trade it directly Zucoin wallet to Zucoin wallet. You can have them listed there in your wallets, which is starting to talk about how we're introducing Zoo apps, which you'll see on the website. Have a look at that one, little Zoo apps. And each one becomes a powerhouse of connectivity where we don't have logins, we don't have any personal information. We have a signature verification like you do now between a Zucoin wallet and Zutopia. We've minimized the risks. And then, of course, as our incredibly, unbelievably extraordinary great man, our CTO, Robert, who's barreling through also in quantum. I looked at it the other day too, by the way, and geez, he had his head on this stuff way back in, I got an email as early as 2020, and he was really beavering away. And when I looked at 2020, that Rob's, really wanting to tease things out and research and do the modelling and what he wanted and how it was going to work and all the rest of it, you got to remember, this is a guy, as he went through that process, thinking about the long-term consequences of quantum, which we talked about the other day on Dr. Zoo, and the impact it's going to have financially across the entire world for other reasons. We're not talking AI here, we're talking quantum computing. That's breaking every single little bit of encryption that we see today, bank accounts and so on. But in 2020, Rob was well ahead of the game in the sense that he's thinking through how to have quantum safe encryption to stop the processes of when this thing gets unleashed. But when I look at articles at the same time, all I'm looking at is people trying to get a quantum computer to work. And they were indicating back then in articles I found that quantum computing is really going to be 15 to 25 years away. Now, lo and behold, the way the human race works, here we are now. They're talking about it's right on our back doorstep. And your Zucoins, people, your Zoo tokens, and the way in which this can explode the growth across real-world assets, which, not Dr. Zoo talking here, this is the great Larry Fink, talks about $31 trillion of potential tokenisation of real-world assets. Imagine being on the top end of that, because the more and more tokens, the more and more trading, the more and more the value picks up. And that's just Dr. Zoo's thoughts about the whole thing, of course, because he uses the quantity theory of money, that little formula that we've talked about, demand v supply, demand and supply, which is critical. Now, the beauty of that is that we want to work towards this program that by the end of this year, you'll have one of the most unique systems on the planet with quantum safe encryption. And the others will be scrambling. They'll be scrambling like Binance. Binance didn't get its licenses, and there's chaos. Chaos in Europe as a result of that, which all triggered on the 1st of July. Chaos because of 2,800 exchanges, Gonski. And let's say this environment that we're in is absolutely magnificently conducive to our strategies on how we positioned ourselves doing the hard work early. And you all know what Dr. Zoo thinks of that second mouse. That second mouse always gets the cheese. The little first mouses, where they go. So, while we see the great man Elon going to push hard and get as many people into space, and he's going to have these robots carrying his bags all the time, we sit here and look at the prospects of products that relate to the financial real world that you guys are involved with, that you guys have supported, taken the risks early adopters, and have a fair crack at it. The only thing that mechanically that Dr. Zoo wants to get involved with is a Gulfstream G800. You know that. You know this is what's going to happen. We might even have some raffles down the road where, because of the strength of our supporters that took lots of hits and got caught up in some of this, anal tearing because they thought you were crazy. We have the products to stack up. We're getting our free audits from AUSTRAC. We're certainly going to push a bit closer to know a bit more by the end of this month on the 23rd of July as to the Australian Financial Review Awards, having already succeeded getting into stage 2, which is massive in its own right. It's been tested. And then, of course, the big push will be on the excitement as to we unleash the strategies that we've had planning for a while on mass marketing through Zukaz, which is unbelievable. Now, just remember, people, Zukaz is not a wild collection of thought bubbles. Right? It's a product that was built and engineered successfully and is looking unbelievable with current upgrades to do with AR, augmented reality. That is, you visually see in three-dimensional form the products. They can be pinged now because of the combo of tokenisation or Zutokens directly to your phone, if that's the favourite you have in your phone, if that's the merchant you love. The merchant can communicate directly. They don't need to put it on social media or Facebook or all that sort of stuff. It can go straight to you. Real value. Real value you can either redeem, or real value you can on-sell and make money. Make money through secondary trading. That is going to be the crackerjack for this young generation that'll be scrambling for jobs and money as AI takes over. So we want to make sure that's positioned with the whole globalized network of people excited about making money because of tokenisation or Zoo tokens. Now, just remember, for those that have any doubt about Zukaz, it came out of the strategy of Pokemon Go, which has been globally phenomenal. I think they made about $3 billion out of that. And we're sitting on this extraordinary concept of three-dimensional forms of real-world assets to your phone, or you can go hunting and collecting. You may recall we had some pretty heavy campaigns to test university students down there in Melbourne, local wineries and restaurants. We had everything. We had tokens floating out there in the lake, on the river, all over the place, working beautifully. Now, that's been accelerated to be fully intertwined with the Zoo tokens, which makes it even far more exceptional, which allows you to convert to QR codes and on trade or redeem. Now, for those that have any doubt, just remember in 2020, Zukaz won an Australian Business of the Innovation of the Year award. So we know what we're doing. We get the business models, we make it work, we unleash it, and we get the long-term recognition that each of our divisional heads rightly deserve, and that'll happen. I can assure you with Zutopia, Robert's going to be on a massive pedestal because of the unbelievable, incredible product that he's produced, which is in front of you all and trading. Now, I was surprised. I did get an update from more people that have been accumulating coins, and I've been taken back a bit. We did promote this. We had a few wombats out there suggesting it hasn't been trading. Well, lo and behold, people have been taking the advice, and they haven't been sitting on their teared anals, as you can tell by the great Prime Minister we have, but they have been out actively creating their own networks. And for 4 years, that trading's been going from wallet to wallet. As I've been saying, you don't need Zutopia really. Well, we need it now because of the tokens that we're putting on. But nevertheless, I was absolutely gobsmacked. The responses that came in, won't say who they are. They've got their own little wallets and things that they do and where they go. But the accumulation of coins, incredible. Never seen like it. You know, Dr. Zoo's going to be, he'll be left well behind because there'll be people with their own G800s. The way this is going, unbelievable. So this is the smart people. Smartest people in the room are the ones that have been sitting saying, we're not going to sit back on this. We are going to, get right into the game and get in there early before people start actually trading back again on Zutopia. Now, let's circle back to a couple of these questions, people. The Dr. Zoo, by the way, there is one there, question. It's now at the very top of the website. It's a blue bar that goes right across the top. You'll have to get used to that, people. You click that, and that will take you to the Dr. Zoo pages, which have been revamped as well. It'll also give you the ability to click through to the past episodes, and they are, the boys do a good job. Pete does a great job, actually. It's Pete from Z8 Digital who pulls that together pretty quickly now. So at the end of this session, there will be a recording, and it'll be placed up pretty well ASAP that you can listen back to. For those that go on and on about wanting something else from Dr. Zoo, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say just turn him off. You don't need to listen, or you can turn him on when you can't sleep at night and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You need to sort of wind down. Dr. Zoo's happy to do that. Apparently his voice is, it gives you the ability to switch your brain and put on on that soft, fluffy pillow And away you go. So you don't need to force yourself to do anything. We don't force anybody to buy anything. We don't force anybody to sell. It's a free market. It's peer-to-peer. It's designed specifically for that. You take the risks. You know the risks, and you got be either super fundamentally unbelievably incredible pricing that we're wanting to see achieved for all of us, or it could be an absolute, there you go. In the early days, we talked about blowing up your ass. Bit nervous about using that saying these days, especially about when it's used quite readily in Parliament House by our Prime Minister. Look, I got to do it one more time because I just want to. I know it's not professional. I know there'll be people around the world wondering what is Dr. Zoo smoking today. But you got to remember, I mean, even Elon, he had his weed during his interviews many times, and he's out there a bit of left field. So what I'll do, look, I'll just put on the approach that Steve Jobs had from way back with one of the greatest ads that Dr. Zoo thinks was fantastic, loves it, loves the ad. And then we'll switch into gear and just give you that little summary of the Prime Minister about how he sees things, because I just still can't get over it. I really can't. I know I'm going to drag on this, but if you don't like it, bad luck. Bad luck. That's the bad luck approach. So let's just have a little listen to Steve's little video, and we'll see how we go with this because it's unbelievable. Here we go.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Now that says it all. You've got visionaries out there. Steve Jobs, one of my great heroes, sadly not here, as you well and truly know. You've got Elon, who's a hero, but he takes it to a whole new level. Some of the corporate stuff I can't agree with in terms of the modelling and the valuations and things. But look, at the end of the day, any bloke that can sustain a $163 billion loss in 24 hours, mate, you've got to take your hat off. You've got to take your hat off. We just want a snippet of that. At that sort of valuation modelling, you guys will be sitting sweet. But it's all about the vision. It's all about the vision. And I know it's hard to believe, but the stuff that's been produced for our benefit, people, the combo of products and things that we're now coming out and into, Robert Novak, incredible. He's out there, but he's thought process and the way in which he goes about things is unbelievable. And then on the other hand, you have this fruitcake. I've got to play it one more time because I think I just can't get it. As I said, I can't get over it. And if you don't like it, well, that's just too bad. But let's just see how this turns out because I'm going to turn off the mic in a minute because I just can't. I laugh too much. But here we go. This is Australia. For those around the world, this is the leader of Australia. This is our illustrious leader who's decimated this country. He's got a fruitcake sidekick called Jacinda Allen, who can't work out whether there's criminal activity in the CFMEU. $15 billion is vaporised, and this guy is warning us all. So take heed of the warning, people, because this is elbow.
We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate. We see anal tearing growing at an extraordinary, horrific rate.
Does that bring a tear to your eye, people? Does that bring a tear to your eye? I mean, fair dinkum. Yeah, yeah. I thought you'd enjoy that. And oh goodness me, goodness me. I mean, sometimes I said that Dr. Zoo said the other day that sometimes he thinks that he might be in the twilight zone because things just don't seem as what they are. You got a president of the United States for the first time making over $1 billion in crypto. I mean, it could have been in anything. It could have been real estate. It could have been gold digging. It could have been, no, it's in crypto. And he's going to carry the rest of us through. He's going to make sure that that $1 billion is protected. So you're going to get a shield of protection as a result of that. There's no way Trumpy and his family are going to let that loose. So they'll do whatever they can to put that crypto in the box seat. And you guys are sitting on one of the greatest products. It's extraordinary, as Dr. Zoo is. It's incredible. You can't dream this stuff up. That's why I wonder whether we're in the twilight zone or sometimes, I know it's not often, but sometimes Dr. Zoo thinks about, are you guys real? I mean, are you all actors? I mean, are we back in the Truman Show 3.0? Wouldn't that be extraordinary? Dr. Zoo sitting here being watched on TV through a bubble and nothing's real because you can't script this stuff. Never seen anything like it in 40 years. In fact, it's even been funnier than that this week. I'm gonna go do. We do have a couple of our great, curious characters that doubt what's going on and all the rest of it. We know it's not doubtful because it's actually happening and working. It's unbelievable. But let me say this: Dr. Zoo thought he was in the twilight zone in relation to alligator blood. Now he's chasing his 1.7 million. There's damage of another 6 million. There's interest on top. This has been going on since 2020. Now, in that time, get a load of this. You ready? It all comes down to whether or not there should be an inquiry, another one, into the blood test. So I won't go too far deep in the background, but we are on a tangent. This is a tangent number one because it's relevant to how money, flows around the world, and you get dimwits that put roadblocks up all the time. Steve Jobs fought so many roadblocks. I mean, he actually got ousted from his own company before they realised they should get him back. And look, it's never looked back, has it? $4 trillion worth of company. Why? Because he had the vision to push through the barriers. And all of a sudden, you've got a group of people that want to test this blood sampling to continue with the ban. Despite Dr. Zoo winning a couple of cases, lost one as well. And now they've decided to convene the fifth inquiry. This is the fifth inquiry. So in that journey of 5 potential inquiries, there's been 15 individual people that have been on and off the panel. We're down to 5 now. Brand new 5. But what's extraordinary, Dr. Zoo laughs his head off, is that this new panel comes on board, and we've got rid of a few because they're a bit naughty. A couple of the guys were naughty in an earlier life. They forget that the internet says, well, it's got a history. Everybody's history's there. That's why Dr. Zoo is very proud of his history, and it's transparently on the website. All the history of Dr. Zoo's there. The good, the bad, the ugly. There's no skeletons, for good reason. We knew this years ago. A couple of wombats out there, and they want to take things out of context. But these other guys on these panels, one was caught up with some sexual harassment stuff in New Zealand, and that went pear-shaped, so we got rid of him. Another bloke, he's desperately trying to cling on, even though he left the scene of a crime, drunk from a car crash. They forget that they report that sort of stuff. And you've got another bloke that's been trying to challenge what Dr. Zoo's been doing in South Australia. And at the end of the day, the irony is that the samples don't exist. So there's nothing to test. The certificates of analysis are only prima facie evidence. Dr. Zoo can't lose the case. No matter how long it'll take, interest is racking up at a rate that if he keeps this up, it'll go hand in glove with the $4.3 billion claim because of stupidity. At the end of the day, The reports in the government case clearly showed that it was all to do with sharing of passwords amongst public servants that allowed money directly out of the Reserve Bank. Now, Dr. Zoo hasn't shared his 4-digit PIN code to his card with anybody. And this is why the cases start to take effect and take shape, but they take time because you've got to have money. And then you strategize and you put those in a pecking order, and away you go. Now, the alligator blood one is the most extraordinary, bizarre thing ever on planet Earth, because guess what? They need the samples in terms of retesting for the inquiry to have any substance. And you know what? The samples vaporized in an electrical storm. Now, someone said this is not going to happen. So they didn't have more, they didn't have a backup generator. I mean, can you make this stuff up? Here we've got all of the samples, A and B portions. You've got blood samples. They put them in a shed. They try and freeze it to keep it going so they can retest. And then the generator runs out of fuel and it gets shot to bits by an electrical storm. Unbelievable. So you know you're on a winner when you can't lose. And it's like the Zucoins, people. The moment you saw that there's been some big momentous occasions in the journey that you guys have been on. But one of them was, of course, notifications. I can't tell you enough. That the situation in terms of notifications in Robert conquering 390,000 lines of code, pulling it back to 20,000, was not one of the great achievements. No one else has done it. You won't get anybody else with that code sitting in their systems. That's why you have trouble transferring directly peer-to-peer with crypto. That's why you have a massive position in relation to the overload of data in the blockchains. They can't cope with trillions of transactions. They become centralized again. And that's why you end up with little fruitcakes like CZ from Binance. As I said on Dr. Zoo the other day, he's going to suggest a consensus meeting so that they can freeze Satoshi's 1.1 million coins. I mean, what's that got to do with CZ? He's got enough problems trying to keep his position and the exchange running in Europe, let alone worrying about what Satoshi's doing. No one cares because they're his coins. Now, we're conscious of merging between regulatory compliance in the circumstances that it needs to be done, as in Zutopia, versus if you guys are being naughty, you could get caught out. If you don't want to pay your tax, you get caught out. If you want to start dealing drugs, you'll get caught out. But that's the beauty of sovereign ownership. That is, you own the coins, you own the wallet, you own the capacity to transfer those coins, like the guys we're seeing out of Queensland gobbling up cheap coins because others have just lost patience. It's going to be a sad day for those that, took the short-term view, because you end up like the first mouse. Your head stuck under the trap, the cheese is still there, and the second mice are all gobbling on the cheese, people. Now, let's try another little quick one here, leading out of the show today. Curious character. It's not a good thing to have whales you want dispersed. It's not a good thing to have whales you want dispersed. I presume you're assuming, or you're talking in relation to people picking up. Well, the beauty is you can't stop people doing what they want to do. You're going to get people selling at cheap prices, or you're going to get people end up with major positions, and they'll pick and choose, which means they've got less to sell. The quicker you get to $1,000 a coin, you don't have to be Albert Einstein to realise that all of a sudden these crazy people, as per Steve Jobs' little ad, turn out to be geniuses because they don't have to sell as many. And a lot of the time too, some of these bigger players as well, Dr. Zoo would much prefer to see 100 million people in the system, each with one coin or 10 coins or fractions of 10 coins, but they'll get an opportunity. They'll be able to fractionalize their coins and disperse them through Zoo tokens, and they'll make a lot more money. So we're going to see some pretty seriously wealthy, powerful people. And at the end of the day, you get more merchants on board. They might be able, I know one instance, one of the guys is talking about buying a truckload of real estate and land and cattle operations up north. Well, fantastic stuff. I mean, that puts it back in because you can't rely on government to help you out. Those days are gone, done and dusted. Now, Timid Spirit has just indicated that it's a warning about damage to young women from online pornography. Not really funny in context. Well, you don't have to laugh, but I laughed about it. Not because of the young women that in context, but if he wants to raise that stuff, then he needs to make the context far greater and clearer, because that's exactly what's going to be taken with no context when you look at what our illustrious Prime Minister has put to Parliament. There's other ways around that. He doesn't need to use those words. He brought it on himself. So this is what happens when you try and get too clever, as Albo's been doing, because thinking you're going to have ID is causing more chaos in terms of those that are young people. And there are ways around that you could stop rather than the way in which he's going about it. I mean, introducing a $99 million fine to try and tell the social media companies to sort themselves out, they don't care. I mean, the last count, Facebook, if you go and do an AI search on penalties paid, they pay out billions, and they're happy to do so. And at the end of the day, what happens with Albo's stuff? He doesn't care about that sort of stuff. If he wants to dig deep, he hasn't passed any gambling restrictions on advertising for gambling, let alone what he's trying to promote here, just use an excuse. So let me say this, Timid Spirit. All that achieves through those sort of forced penalties is that they'll pay the $99 million, government gets it, and they won't spend one zack on the concern that they've got for young women that have been damaged from online pornography. Right? They won't care, because that money will be blown up with the CFMEU, it'll be blown out there with the, the Department of Measurement. $273 million went that way. So there's no accountability from the political side. You've got to go through the core of the problem and work your way backwards. Dr. Zoo knows this firsthand because he has seen it. He has seen it in the court cases and the evidence and all of the things that occur as a result of that. Now, when will tokenisation be available? Well, we're getting pretty close. We're getting pretty close on that. We're getting close on tokenisation. So I don't think you're going to see the first cab off the rank will be TurfStar, because that's what we do. We do modelling and we get a case study out and about. But the real stuff, in terms of the mass adoption and the merchants we've got, it'll be a bit of a running race, actually, because more and more merchants will realise they can then come into it as we complete out the Zucaz app. And the Zucaz app is all about tokenisation, which is all about the utility. So, yes, we've got companies planning already, and our main focus is consumable products. That is, things of interest to you as a consumer instead of direct marketing or advertising, rather, that you can readily use. So we're talking about helping the Australian economy rather than crazy words like Albo. And in Parliament, we're talking about actually putting in play the ability for people to help them. So whether that's food, consumable goods, you name it, that's exactly where we want to be. In terms of bigger picture stuff, that'll take a bit longer, but Dr. Zoo desperately wants to get back into the takeover game. But along with that, once you start creating additional value propositions like shares and securities and stocks and things, you then got to circle back to AFSL and global compliance around the world with the corporate regulators. That's not an easy task, but certainly we can partner with the right people, because we do want to launch at some stage takeovers in the belief that all this is going to go pear-shaped on or around about October. Dr. Zoo might be wrong, and he'd be happy to be wrong. He's not too proud to say it didn't happen. Could be the biggest bull market in the history of mankind. At the same time, there's a lot of airy-fairy things happening, and that would create an opportunity where the pricing of shares is well below the net tangible asset backing of companies, and creates an extraordinarily magnificent opportunity as a result of that. So, yes, There's layers of different Zoo tokens that we can do. Our first port of call is to obviously complete the mission of mass adoption, which we're very comfortable we can do. And that leads into mass usage, which is more about bringing merchants. Remember, we've got some great partners, particularly with Stripe, and everybody wants to get in on the act. If you can offer profit sharing arrangements, which you can do because you've got secondary market trading of these tokens, Zoo tokens, then of course that makes it a lot easier because they have the connections to merchants and database, etc., around the world. So that's the easy part. And then the next part is really getting into the nitty gritty of the smart contracts for things like property, real estate, houses, land. You could even do cattle, climate change issues. You can do derivatives. You can do anything your little minds want to put into play. Stock horses, you name it. There is no barrier to entry once you now have the capacity, which you do, with fractionalization of Zoo tokens and the ability to confirm ownership. So it'll roll out. You guys have got plenty on your plate at the moment. The main mission, which hasn't changed, is we stay focused. And we stay focused because we want to see people globally working and trading with each other on Zutopia, enjoying yourselves, seeing how that price moves, and that takes rid of all that pressure, and everybody can come in and start to enjoy different things that they want to do or not do, which is really how we see it. That's exactly the position in relation to that. Now, I think today, people, for those that are concerned about the protocol and worrying about listening to Albo a few times today, well, got some advice. When you get to those parts in the summaries today of the replay, turn it off because it's just one of the most extraordinary things to be raised by a leader, whether it's in or out of context. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as context these days in this world of AI, social media, and everything else. As I said to you before, look, it'll happen by someone else, but it can happen. You can build a decentralized social media platform. If you want to eliminate half of this stuff, that then puts the power, just like you guys are going to have the power of controlling your favorites directly in terms of product or merchants, that same concept can be built in a decentralized way with notifications without all the idiots that could be in a chat group. In fact, we did have the name at one stage. We were thinking, but Dr. Zoo's getting too old. He'll let someone else build it, called ZooChat. And ZooChat eradicates all of those through filters and things that you don't want to have, the AIs and pornography, if that's what you don't want, gambling, whatever else, whatever tickles your fancy, or whether it's for underage chat groups, etc., without the bullying and all the stuff that goes on. There are ways to technically build that out. They won't build it because they need the interaction and the advertising and the money, and they don't care. The big tech doesn't care. Facebook doesn't care, and we know. How do we know that? Because Facebook made $16 billion on scam ads. Copped the penalty, pays a couple of $1 billion, and banks the rest. That, people, is the sad part of aggregated technology, and that's where the politicians need to get their head on it if they're going to go down this road. And guess what? Otherwise, don't say stupid things in Parliament and expect it to be put in context. It doesn't happen that way at all. So on that note, I think I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you for being with us. As I said, as soon as we get any news, it'll be pressing buttons straight away, and we all look forward to that. In the meantime, any problems, any identifiable mistakes, we take it on board and we do the work with it, whether it's the way the app works in Zutopia, whether it's Zucoin wallet, websites, just send it through. Just send it through, and the boys will get onto it because they're only human. You're dealing with some humans, except for when you start asking Z8 Digital. Look out. Cheerio, everybody. Have a great one, and leave it with you.